Thank you for staying with us. You're still watching The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. Right now, it's time to discuss the fact that Naira is to stay stable, but strong recovery is unlikely. The Naira is projected to remain stable in the short term, supported by continued interventions from the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, including a $190.40 million injection into the forex market. A report by the Lagos-based consultancy, Cordros, noted a 1.1% week-on-week appreciation, with the Naira closing in at 1,579 Naira per dollar on May 23, 2025. Despite this stability, analysts say a substantial appreciation is unlikely due to constrained FX liquidity and weak foreign portfolio inflows. The CBN's ongoing reforms and rising FX reserves, now at $38.54 billion, are helping to restore market confidence after last year's major devaluation. CBN Governor Olayemi Kadoso emphasized that the Naira is now competitively priced to boost exports and reaffirmed the bank's commitment to currency and price stability amid global uncertainties. Joining us to discuss this is MUKTAR Mohammed, is a finance expert. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
All right, so we're seeing Naira to stay stable, but recovery is unlikely. I do not understand that. Can you please just explain in plain terms, what does that mean?
What it means is that for now we'll be able to maintain a corridor of stability. That's what I like using. I don't think the Naira is very stable. It's a corridor of stability. We'll continue to have that corridor of stability for the short term. But to see that substantial appreciation of the Naira against the dollar is going to be a Hercules task, because again, you have to look at a lot of factors. So what it means is that Naira stays stable, but strong recovery unlikely, is because what we have now will continue to enjoy that corridor of stability based on the FX reserve that we have, because the CBN will be able to make major intervention like the one you just mentioned. But again, to make huge intervention is another thing, because again, we don't have continuous inflow, like your report rightly pointed out, in terms of foreign direct investors, portfolio investors, or even crude oil sales. So you will not likely see that strong recovery like what we had at the time when the Naira was almost hitting 2,000 and it got to 1,300. We might not see that again.
Okay, so, but isn't that like a full stability, like a facade? So, we think it's stable, but then in reality it's not, because if we're seeing week-on-week appreciation, then at some point it should have, taken flights. I mean, that's what I understand. My economics might not be the best, but if I'm seeing appreciation every day, that means maybe by the end of 6 months, there should be something substantial to hold on to. So what are the key challenges that are holding it back to get there?
I just mentioned some of those key challenges. One of them is FX inflow. We don't have so many of FX inflow into the market at the moment. Secondly, also, we are struggling with tension, international trade tension. So we are not seeing a lot of activities that will drive trading into our FX market. Those are two very strong factors that are constraining those recovery.
Okay, so what I'd like, if we're looking at maybe measures or things to improve that, or even bring the foreign investors to come in, what should we be doing? Because everybody wants the Naira to appreciate, especially business owners, people who are dealing with FX. So for instance, if all of my things, I have to procure them from abroad, I need to be able to change my money into that, and I want the exchange rate to be favorable to me. So what are those things that we need to start doing that we're not doing at the moment? Because, I mean, in Off the Press this morning, we saw that as of May 2023, the Naira was just about 400 and something. The dollar, I beg your pardon, was just 400 and something Naira. In, May 2024, it was about over 1,500, and we're in April 2025, is still, or rather we're in May, but as of April 2025, is still around the same price from last year. So we've not really seen a significant growth. If we want to do that, what should we change that we're probably not doing at the moment?
I don't. I think a lot has to change. But again, in changing, you have to know whether your changing will definitely bring the short-term result or the long-term result. You just make mention about if you are buying things outside the shop, this country, then you want a very strong naira. But again, look at what the CBN governor said. He said the naira has become very competitive for export. So he's not looking at naira becoming competitive for import. So that is the major challenge. We seems to live in type of illusion that thinking that we can export so much to any effects into the economy. And when you look at the main source of effects, still remain crude oil sale, and it's still a challenge in that side because of low output, low crude oil price at the moment. Benchmark $75, current at about $60-something per barrel. So you already have a shortfall. So what we have to do, we have to improve on that area. We have to make the environment conducive to bring in foreign portfolio or foreign direct investors. If you look at the report that came in from the Nigerian Stock Exchange last month or over the quarter, you realize that foreign portfolio investors are equally in the equity market, are even exiting rather than coming in. So there's a lot of work to be done, but you need to do it again with your goal. Is it going to be for the short term? And all these things largely driven by instability in the exchange rate, like I just pointed out. Nobody wants to come to an economy where the naira is exchanging at 587 naira, 88 naira today. Then the next day is doing about 610 naira, 665 naira. It doesn't give room for proper planning. If you look at how Nigeria has been able to maintain stability in the exchange, you realize that we maintain that for over 2, 3, 4 years, and maybe an external shock comes that when we see that naira threatening, and then you see a little bit devaluation. But that should stop if we really know what we are doing by trying to prepare, not waiting for a situation to happen. Another way you can also help in stabilizing the naira for the long term is to have a robust FX reserve. Up to this moment now, nobody's talking about the sovereign wealth fund, which is supposed to be a key driver of stability, whereby if you put the price of oil $70, you make it $65 for every $5 goes into the sovereign wealth fund, which in turn is used to invest to generate more FX, to create liquidity, to create again buffer. We are not seeing that, just like what the SS crude account was doing before it was said to be illegal. So there's a lot of work to be done, and again, we mustn't pay lip service, and we mustn't be saying saying, oh, we are achieving this. We are not really achieving anything as far as the exchange rate is concerned. Like you just rightly pointed out, even when President Tinubu came to power, he said about 750, 760, and today we are doing 1,600, and you said, oh, we have made the naira competitive. You've forgotten that at a point you thought the naira was going to be exchanging from $1,000 to a naira. That was what you were telling us. That would be the true value of the naira. Now it's no more about the true value; it's about the competitive nature of the naira.
Okay.
I think there's still much to be done.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that you just even spoke about capital inflows and price stability, because we're all just looking to attract these people. And of course, if the value of your money is quite low, then they might want to come. But if the price stability is in there, you cannot keep them to stay. But if we're looking at, the competitive value of the naira, like he has said, in your own opinion, do you think that the naira is fairly valued or it's undervalued maybe?
I think as far as I'm concerned, the naira is still undervalued. I don't see a reason why the naira should be exchanging for 1,400, 1,500. I think the CBN have said it again. If you look at the speech from the governor said the naira is more competitive. But what we want in Nigeria, yes, we want a competitive naira. But again, for your naira to be competitive, then you have to know the true value of your naira. Your naira cannot be undervalued, and you say it's competitive. Then you are giving advantage to foreign investors. And again, if your naira is competitive in the international market, where you are exporting a lot, then you could say that the naira is competitive as well in the non-oil sector. But again, if you look at the competitiveness of your naira, if you look at crude oil, you are not selling so much of crude. International price has gone down; it's not in your hand. But if you say competitiveness in terms of non-oil sector, how many of these products you have been exporting out of the shop of this country to say, okay, you have made your naira competitive for your exporters to want to bring in the FX into your economy, so that they will get more value for the naira, export more. It's it's not there. So I think the CBN should stop from. We have moved from real value now to competitiveness. I think it's something they need to address. Is it competitiveness in the sense that we're exporting more, or is it competitiveness in the sense that you're attracting more foreign direct investors? Remember, our euro bonds and others are overvalued in terms of returns, because we are the only one that give over 8 point something% in terms of our returns in our euro bond. And so, does that mean our euro bond is more competitive, or is it out of desperation that we want more FX, so we try to give more high returns? So those are part of what the CBN really need to look at. Do you want the true value of the Naira, or you just want to maintain that language that we started hearing, the competitive nature of the Naira?
I know. I mean, every day you hear new big words, by them, and it's just to gloss over things. I think that's what they just do. But still staying on the exchange rate, do you think that this would hold right now? Because a lot of people want price stability. That way you can plan ahead. It comes with the ease of doing business. But if I'm not sure what the Naira is going to say tomorrow, then I don't know what my business stands to gain. And that's why you even see a lot of people trying to buy so much FX and keep. I have friends who would tell me that, I don't keep money, I don't keep Naira anymore. Every money I get, I try to change it into dollars, because that's the only thing that is stable for me, sort of. So if we're seeing this happen, that means, in a way, we're always going to be having that so much FX in circulation, because everybody's trying to grasp for it. But for you now, do you think this price stability, even if it's 1,500 that we know we're dealing with, is that going to hold medium term?
Yes. Stability is first of all, is for the medium term. You want to hold stability, you want to hold it for the medium term. Then while you begin to put in structures to maintain strong recovery and also improvement in terms of price stability. But the medium term, people must be able to believe in the medium term where your currency is going, then begin to look at the long-term possibility of where it will be, and then with that, they'll be able to plan. But the situation whereby people are not sure what the medium term is, rather would they be sure what the long term is. I think if we are able to maintain stability in the medium term for like 6 to 1 year, then a lot of people know, okay, for the medium term, this is what you have. And in terms of stability is not about today's 160, tomorrow's one. Stability is all about, okay, it is 1,600, and that is where it will be. And if it's going to go, it's going to go from 1,600 maybe to 1,550. Those are the type of things you say there's stability, and this stability is to the advantage. But a stability whereby today is 588, tomorrow is 1,600, next tomorrow it goes back to 1,997. It doesn't clear for planning. So what you are seeing there is a competitive nature whereby market forces are determining the price, and when they determine the price, when the CBN think that the price is overblotted, because again, they don't. For me, they don't want the noise about the exchange rate. They just come in there now and giving FX of 170 million. Like I keep saying, the challenge with the FX market in Nigeria is not the person that they get that 170. If you go and confirm, those 170 million goes to large importers that are importing goods into Nigeria, compared to when you have that put in the real sector. The real sector, I mean the retail sector, where those SMEs, where those smaller business need 1,000, where those people want to pay school fees, where people are looking for traveling allowance, where people are looking for health money for healthcare. Those are the type of places that if such liquidity go in there, it will definitely bring down the exchange rate. It's not the official market that is the challenge of the exchange rate, it's the retail market. The retail market is that market that everybody wants to access and access seamlessly. That is the challenge. Until the CBN address that liquidity issue in the retail market, we'll continue to have this large term fluctuation of the exchange rate.
Yeah, I totally agree with you with, the price stability and how it should be, because I remember when I was in uni, I mean, pounds was between maybe 230 something and 250 for the entire time that I was in uni, and in a way I kind of like made good money for my parents then. But you would always hear that dollar is 120 or maybe it goes to 125. But now when you're seeing huge margins, it just doesn't make sense, and you cannot, you cannot ascertain what would happen. But one other thing that was being spoken about is, the FX reserves. Do you think that, of course, the boost in the FX reserves now would lead to or translate into investor confidence? Or would you say that there is still a lot more capital market reforms that needs to be done for us to start to see the economy boost up and the stability or the stronger Naira that we all want?
I think for the capital market, I think a lot of reform has gone in there, and it's fantastic for the market. We are seeing those reforms bringing results, especially in the banking sector, where hopefully the banks will finish their recapitalization in a moment from now. Some of those banks that have not concluded their recapitalizations are targeting foreign portfolio investors, and that also will drive in liquidity into the market. I think that will help in terms of market or price stability. But for the CBN, I think they need to do a lot to attract that price stability, like you rightly pointed out. But again, at that time, I think majorly it was the government that was driving liquidity into those retail sector, and then you're able to see those long-term recovery. Now, for international investors, do they really have confidence to come into your market because you have a robust reserve? When you look at that reserve, it's just $38 billion. So it could deal with issue for the next 3, 4, 5, or maybe at worst 6 months in terms of capital importation. But again, when you look at the larger picture, what an investor is looking at is a very liquid economy, and the liquid economy that enjoy a two-way exchange system. They come into them, and I decide to exit, I don't have to struggle to exit. So that is what will drive investors into the market, and also that is largely also boosted by your reserve. But $38 billion, today's state, remember before now it got to $40 billion and we're all shouting, and today is $38 billion. So what we have been able to see for the past 2 years, even if you have to give them kudos, that at the time they came, I think it was about $28 billion. So they've been able to add about 10 billion in 2 years, which is huge when you look at where they are coming from and the challenges that they are facing. But when you look at the larger picture to really drive investors into the market, you've not done so well, because again, if the president have traveled, if a lot of ministers have traveled, if you are hearing that XYZ is bringing in 40 billion, is bringing in 10 billion, and at the end of the day, it's not showing the bottom line of your company or the bottom line for a country, then there's a lot of things that need to be addressed. Maybe they are giving us informations that are not really true.
It could be on paper, but it doesn't really translate to what we see. But we have to go now in 1 minute or 30 seconds. What are some key indicators that we need to monitor, especially if we really want a stronger Naira, if we want that strong recovery?
One of those is we have to improve our crude oil sales by improving export of crude oil. It still remains a large driven of effects into our economy. Secondly, we need to begin to make the environment so conducive, create a two-way system so that we attract both foreign and portfolio investors.
Fantastic. All right, that's how much we can take right now. We're just looking at, the fact that the Naira will remain stable, but strong recovery is unlikely. And we're speaking with MUKTAR Mohammed, is a finance expert, and he's just been giving us some valuable insights on this, what it means and what we need to do. And just as it was wrapping up before we had that glitch, he was just speaking about our crude oil sales, and we need to improve that. But also, for me, I think we need to improve in agriculture. We need to find ways to ensure that we're exporting more and not just being a nation that imports everything that we use. But that's how much we can have on this show. That's how much we can take on the show right now. Thank you so much for having the breakfast with me. My name is Rume Paulson. I'll see you again tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Good morning.